Good afternoon. This is April 19th, 2022 for the regular council meeting. I'm going to call the meeting to order, and first thing we're going to do is add item to the agenda. We're going to discuss the special flagpole with the Ukrainian flag on it. So we'll put that at 7.4 for discussion. Tracy? Thank you very much. Is there any other items to add to the agenda today? Seeing none, I'll ask for a motion to adopt the agenda for April 19th, 2022. Councillor Auld. Can you turn your mic on?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you very much. All in favor? And thank you, Councillor Fraser. That's carried. Seeing no delegations, moving on to the adoption of the previous minutes. Was there any changes or corrections for the minutes from April 5th of 2022? Seeing no changes, I'll ask for a motion to adopt the minutes for previous meeting. Sorry. Councillor Hutchinson.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you very much. All in favor? And thank you very much, Councillor Fraser. That's carried. So old business 6.1, an RFD for fees, rates, and charges bylaw for 2022/01. So this will be the third reading of fees, rates, and charges bylaw. Did we have any questions or comments for anyone about this third reading? Mr. Kraus, did you have anything to add for this?
No, Your Worship. I mean, we went through it in the previous meeting, so if council has any questions, be glad to answer, but it's up to council for a third reading.
Okay. Oh, sorry, Tracy.
I just wanted to add one thing, Your Worship. Actually, Wes gave me a call earlier and noticed that under G2, the definition for family has to be changed in there as well.
Okay, thank you very much. So do we have to do anything special with that change?
It would just be an amendment.
Okay. Councillor Phillips.
If there's no further discussion, I would like to make a motion that council give third and final reading to the fees and rates bylaw 2022/01 with the one amendment as presented.
Thank you very much. I did have a couple emails that I think the concerns about the bylaw can be easily answered, and it shouldn't affect anything, but I just wanted to say that we're aware that there's a couple emails that came in late last night. So if there's no further discussion, we will address the motion on the table. All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you very much. So moving forward to new business, we have an RFD for Community Partnership Funding Policy 7.1. And I see it's submitted by Tracy Breeze. Did you want to speak?
Thank you, Your Worship and Council. So at the January 11th and 12th operating and capital budget meeting, Council instructed administration to develop a policy for third-party project capital requests. So before you is this policy for your review and comments. So this policy states that projects should meet certain objectives, such as projects that are identified through the Rocky Mountain House recreational master plan, and principles that projects should be aligned with town's strategic plan, eligibility requirements and criteria for assessment. And basically, once applications come in, administration reviews them all and then presents a report to council, and then council would make the final decision to enter into agreement or not.
Thank you very much. sorry, Counselor Fraser, did you want to speak towards this at all?
I can. I know that we get approached by lots of different groups and they have lots of different projects in mind. And I think that having a policy in place where people can see the process laid out so that it is as fair as possible, I think that's a good thing.
Thank you very much. Counselor Ald and then Counselor Phillips.
I agree with Maren. It's the whole purpose is to make sure everybody's on the same level playing field and that everybody's treated equally and fairly. So I think we now have a policy that addresses that, and there's criteria. There's nobody that can't run through this if they meet these policies. I think it's great.
Counselor Phillips.
I just echo the last two comments. I think it's good to have an open, transparent policy that's simple and easy for the public to read. And ongoing, it'll just help us with these projects that that people come up with, and we want to definitely address these projects. And this just gives the public the venue to do that.
Thank you very much. I certainly would in favor of having this policy. I just would like another council meeting to consider it. We had a lot going on over the Easter weekend, and a couple council members have been ill over the weekend, so it would just give us a little bit more time. Does anybody have a problem with finalizing the policy for the next meeting? Counselor Phillips?
I honestly, I don't see any reason why we would want to do that. I mean, yes, we're missing one council member, but we do have another council member on Zoom. And I know I can only speak for myself. I've had lots of time to review this and read this, and I just don't see any reason why we would need to go to another meeting to make a decision on this. That's just my 2 cents.
Thank you very much. Any other questions or comments? So I'd like to make the motion that we postpone the community partnership funding policy 04/2022 to allow more time to consider and put it to the next council meeting. All in favor? And so that is not carried. Councillor Auld?
There's no other questions. I'd like to make the motion that council approve the community partnership funding policy 004/2022 as presented.
No problem. All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you very much. So moving forward, we have an RFD for 56th Street Paving, 7.2, and we have Sean LaFrance here with us, and don't forget to turn on your mic.
Good day, your worship and council. As presented here, there is a section of 56th Street that is ponding water and requires some sort of remediation due to the ponding isn't due to a recent water repair, but we're in the area and we have to do some amount of paving. The extent is what extent of paving makes the most sense. And there's an opportunity for us to correct an ongoing ponding issue while we're there. And so we've the request for a decision is for that additional funding. So if there's any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Councillor Auld, did you have a question? Your light is on. Councillor Phillips, you had a question?
Yeah, more of comment. I mean, when we do these projects, obviously things come up, sometimes during the scope of the project that may or may not have been seen at the time that the RFP originally was done. So I'm comfortable with approving the additional funds for this.
Councillor Auld?
Yeah, not a question, just a comment. I have seen that area in firsthand daily, and it definitely needs some work. It affects all the residents down that street, so I'm in favor of getting it repaired properly this time and moving forward.
Yeah, I see the manhole now is like a foot below the top of the pavement, or something's weird going on with that. So it obviously needs to be addressed sooner than later. So, Counselor Phillips,
If there's no further discussion, I'd like to make a motion that council approve proceeding with the additional repair work on 56th Street funded from road reserves.
do we need to have the amount specified in there?
Yeah.
The amounts are in the resolutions because the extent of the repairs determined by the funding.
Okay, I just wasn't sure if you needed to say that. Okay, if there's no further discussion, we'll have a vote on that. All in favor? Thank you very much, Counselor Fraser, and that's carried. Thank you very much, Ms. Brown. Okay, so moving forward, we're on 7.3. We have an RFD for special council meeting request. Thank you very much, Betty Quinlan, or Mr. Kraus, who wanted to speak first. Perfect.
Good
Thank you very
afternoon, your
much.
worship and council. Typically, we try to have the audited financial statements done for the last meeting in April, which would be today, but quite often we're just in the final throes of doing the final drafts and reviewing them with the auditors. So we're requesting, there's a meeting on the 27th of April. We're requesting that we have a regular council meeting at 1 p.m. where the auditor can come and present the audited financial statements to you at that time. The reason we need to do it before May is that they're required to be submitted to the municipal affairs by May 1st. So quite often this happens.
Counselor Phillips, did you have a question?
No, just more of a comment. So I know we have a committee of the whole meeting that day as well. So do we just have the council meeting, then the committee of the whole meeting?
Yes,
That's correct. Okay.
I'm not, I mean, it could take longer, but usually it doesn't take an extraordinary amount of time, a half hour, maybe 45 minutes.
Thank you very much. I don't see any other questions or comments. Counselor
I'll just make the motion if no questions. So be it resolved that council approve calling a special council meeting for April 27th, 2022 at 1 p.m. for the purpose of approving the 2021 audited financial statements.
Thank you very much. And no discussion on the motion, so we'll call that to a vote. All in favor? Thank you very much, Counselor Fraser, and that's carried. So moving forward, we're on to the added item 7.4. And so there's been quite a bit of discussion in the community that we've seen to receive a number of emails and questions about the height of the distinctly separate flagpole in front of Town Hall building. And I thought we'd just open it up to discussion today to see if we can find a solution that would keep some of these interested parties happy, and to speak about that a little bit more. Counselor Phillips.
Thank you, Mayor Beach. This was something I wanted to bring up as an agenda item as well. So thank you for bringing it up. I mean, the initial intent of raising the Ukrainian flag wasn't to create controversy in the town of Rocky. It was to show support for those people in the country of Ukraine that are going through a horrible humanitarian crisis. Unfortunately, it has become a topic of discussion based on its height, even though it is separately and distinct away from our original flagpoles. What I would suggest is we bring the topic of flagpoles to the service level retreat and 2023 budget, because right now we don't have flagpoles at the Rocky Regional Recreation Center or the swimming pool, and I don't believe we have any at the Lusopet Center as well. So what my suggestion would be to bring the topic of flagpoles to that discussion to see then we can see what we want to do with this flagpole. Does it maybe want to get relocated to another area of town and we can do something different here? And also the suggestion that we put the Canadian flag up on the current pole that has the Ukrainian flag on there.
Thank you very much. So for anybody who's not aware, the problem is that the original flagpole from in front of Town Hall stands quite a bit higher than the town office building. And we're using that for special occasions to bring attention to the Ukrainian flag. And at a distance, you can't see the newly installed flagpoles. And so it gives the appearance that we're not taking good care and concern of our national flag, which is not the intention. So could we maybe perhaps look at solutions for this flagpole right now? Like, could we swap? Like, I'm not completely familiar with the orders of the flags, like our three that stand there. Could we put the Ukrainian flag in with that 6, those 6 flags, and just put the Canadian flag so that it is the tallest, or would that still not meet the proper criteria?
No, so your worship, I mean, we can definitely put it on the 5 flagpoles. We would probably remove 1 flag to accommodate the Ukrainian flag. It'd either be the Rocky flag or the Alberta provincial flag to make sure they fly in orders, because you still want the Canadian flag flying. So that is one option. The other option would be, actually, we can put it in council chambers on another flag on this arrangement behind you. Still fly it, or council can determine that we've flown it long enough, because we've never set a time to fly the flag, which typically it's for a month when we have a special flag up. So there is options.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kraus. Councillor Phillips?
It has been a month since we put that flag up. We're very close to it. I would say we can put the Canadian flag back up on that flagpole, and then have the discussion of flagpoles in general brought to the service level retreat and budget for next year. And perhaps that flagpole can be repurposed to another location rather than trying to, we can't cut it down. I know that's not an option, but then we can have a proper discussion and it'll go into the proper budgeting year, because right now, if we try to do this in this year's budget, we haven't budgeted the money for it. So it has to come out of somewhere. So that would be my suggestion, is that we just, we've made the statement that we support the people of Ukraine, raise the Canadian flag back up, and have the discussion at the budget 2023 for flagpoles.
Thank you very much, Councillor Phillips. We're going to take a comment from Councillor Fraser.
I agree with Councillor Phillips. I think it has been up for the month. I just think it needs to be made clear that it is following flag protocol, and the Canada flag in a series does need to be on the left. And so when it's standing alone, we can put the Canadian flag back up, but I have a feeling there's going to be other flags and other events coming up, and that the concern was that any flag was flying at any height anywhere in town higher than a Canadian flag. And they are flying according to protocol, and I think we should bring it back to service level and maybe make the height of the flags consistent, but just to make it clear that we are flying based on protocol.
Thank you very much, Councillor Fraser. I certainly would like to still recognize that there is some traumatic events happening in Ukraine. I know that the people of Poland are still quite concerned, and it is quite an ordeal. I certainly agree that our flags are at the proper protocol. However, the perception is, I think, what the community is referring to. So I would like to recommend that we swap the Rocky Mountain House flag for the Ukrainian flag for one more month, just to keep showing solidarity and support for Ukraine. It wouldn't affect any other flags on there but our town flag. And I think it would fit nicely and solve some of the problems. I do still think that it's still a problem in Ukraine, and I want to support that. And I definitely would like to see it off of the taller one to give the proper impression. And I see Councillor Fraser has a comment or a question.
And I can understand where you're coming from for this particular event. My concern is what happens with the next one. We put it up on our special flagpole and people are upset again. And so we move it again. Like I guess, are we changing the policy of what flies on that third flag permanently? Because the Ukraine flag, yes, we can deal with that right now. I just think that going forward, that separate flagpole was put there for a reason.
Thank you very much. It's my understanding that is that not the original flagpole that's always been at town office, and that the other set of flagpoles are new. And so I certainly think we should review using that as a special event flagpole, because it gives the perception, because you can see it especially from the west and south of the town office building. You can't tell that the other flags you can't tell by visually, like off the hop. And so I would like to just maybe suggest that we refrain from using that until we have more discussions over it. Or did you want to have the discussion now about that, Councillor Fraser?
I'm happy to have a discussion now or later. I just think that means that we are bumping other flags that are in protocol because of a perception. And arguably, I would say that if we're putting a flag up for a month for, I guess, awareness of whatever the cause is, it should be visible. So if it's in protocol and it's procedurally sound, I'm okay with it using that flag as the special event flag. But if you want to take stuff down, then we need to have a discussion of what's being moved and what does that impact, what other flags we can fly, and what message does that send to the other flags in the array.
Thank you very much. So I don't know, I'll answer Councillor Phillips next. I certainly agree with you. However, perception is really important. That's why most people don't know the flag protocol. And I know that some of the letters we got, they actually phoned the flag protocol people and had discussions over it. That's why I think the town of Rocky Mountain House flag, because we're paying tribute to whichever different flag. If we removed our flag or replaced it and then just kept the tallest, the other flagpole that was originally at town office for the Canada flag, because perception would be that you could always see the Canada flag, even though it's on a separate pole. That's what I think we could do. I don't think, Mr. Kraus, do you think that would affect the policy? Like or the flag protocol, if we swapped out the Rocky Mountain House flag for special events?
No, Your Worship. I mean, we can do that. We would just remove the town flag. And I think what Council Fraser's really trying to put across to council is that we are going to get other requests, and we're in, for example, there's no doubt that we'll get a request to fly the Pride flag for the month of June, I believe is Pride month. Now, where does that one go? I mean, we still can do it on the 5 flagpoles. We still can remove the town one, but now we'll be shifting over the Treaty 6 and Métis flag, because that would have a higher precedence than that flag. So we'd be moving flags around for that.
And I don't have a problem with that. Councillor Phillips, did you want to comment?
So we're talking about a protocol that is being followed accurately by the town of Rocky Mountain House, and a perception that the protocol isn't being followed properly by the town of Rocky Mountain House. So I don't have a problem, with taking the town of Rocky flag and replacing it with the Ukrainian flag for another month. I don't have a problem doing that. And putting the Canadian flag back on the original flagpole. If we have further requests, for the remainder of this year, we're going to have to deal with those on an individual basis, and potentially maybe we adjust our flag, the flag order on our pole of 5. But I definitely think this needs to go back to service level and budget for next year to address the problem of this flagpole, and maybe it can be repurposed to another town facility. And then we can get a proper flagpole that is at the right height that will not create a perceived flag protocol problem.
Would it be okay if, so I agree with Councillor Phillips, we like moving flag poles or spending money on flag poles. I just think that there's a quick solution. I don't think anyone would be offended if the Rocky Mountain House flag swapped out, and if we had to readjust 2 flags when we were doing that to keep the order. I don't want to remove, say, the Métis flag or another flag that we're holding tribute to in order to make that happen. And then we can, like Councillor Phillips says, we just do it flag by flag or request by request until we can get to budget time. Does that sound fair and reasonable to everyone? Councillor Hutchinson, and then Mr. Kraus had a comment.
I had a couple of comments. One question though, how often do we get special groups wanting to fly? Is this quite common?
So your worship, to Councillor Hutchison, probably about twice a year is the average. We had Rotary flag, I believe it was Rotary flag last year. We had it was a late request, so we couldn't accommodate, but for Pride flag. So about 2 per year. The simplest solution for council would actually just to put a flagpole in here, versus swapping out flags, taking down flags outside. Or we could put a flagpole in our front lobby so anyone coming in the town office can see what the special flag is flying that way. And we actually have one in stock. So it's just the same as here. So that's an alternative for council.
I also wanted to comment that I had read the emails and comments and whatnot, and I thought it's not that bad, but it is very noticeable when you make a point of looking at it that it is above a lot of buildings and a lot of sightlines. I would like to see the Canadian flag back up there because it is the highest or one of the higher points that you see visually. And I'm okay with either solution, either swapping out the Rocky flag outside or having one fly in the lobby until we have service level review and look at the big picture.
Mr. Coase, you were okay. Councillor Auld?
I'd be more comfortable with that idea as well, having the special recognized flag inside the building, then we're not flipping flags around. Just leave the tall one bare for now until we discuss where we're going to move it, how we're going to address it, and everybody's happy.
Councillor Phillips?
I kind of like Mr. Krause's idea of the special flag being in the town hall or the town office, with especially when we have a flagpole for it. Then we're not adjusting and changing flags as needed. But I do think we should have the Canadian flag back on that flagpole. If we're taking down the Ukrainian flag, that should be the Canadian flag back up on that flagpole.
Councillor Auld?
If we take the Canadian flag and put it up, would we just have a bare pole outside then?
No, we have 2 Canadian flags.
So
Don't
you'd
we?
keep the one on the left and put another one up.
So Councillor
I just wanted to say that I'm good with that decision as well, putting the Canada flag back on the highest one, and I'm okay with either one too, like having special flags inside the building or just adjusting outside. So
Councillor Fraser?
I don't mind the idea of having one inside as a supplementary one, but I think when people ask us to fly a flag, they're asking us to fly it outside in front of our building. So I'd have no problem with there also being an indoor one if they have multiple flags that they can donate to the cause, but I still think if you're doing it in the interest of awareness, then it needs to be outside.
Thank you very much. I agree with Councillor Fraser. For the few times a year that we would have to adjust, you know, three other flags, I'd like to swap out the Rocky Mountain House flag with the Ukrainian flag and put it in whatever format the protocol, and secondarily keep the Canadian flag on that set of flags, and also put it on the tallest one. That's, even though it's separate, I think it does really look nice to have it. You can see it from all over, and then it might be easier for people to find town office when you say, see where that flag is over there? That's where the office is. Councillor Hutchinson?
Do we have a policy of, or timeline that we hang special event flags? And maybe that was, I'm not going to say our mistake, but it should have been identified when we made the decision to hang the Ukrainian flag.
So, Your Worship, we do have a flag protocol policy, but it does not limit times for a special flag.
Thank you very much. Councillor Phillips?
I was just going to say, maybe that is something that we should review.
That's exactly
That's
what
what
I was
you're
going to say. Maybe it's something we need to add to the policy, or when we are, you know, saying that we're going to fly a flag, we have a set time period for that flag to be flown.
Yeah, agreed.
I'm fine with making the decision as it comes up. You know, people are always going to ask us when they want that changed. So I don't think we need to do a lot of work on the policy to address that. But perhaps when it comes to us, we put that deadline on it just to make things more simpler. Does that sound fair and reasonable? And then we don't have to rewrite that policy and go through the work of that.
I think if we address additional flagpoles at service level review, and at that time, then possibly look at reviewing the flag policy, because we may then have a set flag that's going to be there and more people will be using it. So at that time, if we need to review the policy or set limits, we do it at that time.
That sounds great. Thank you very much. So moving forward, I think we're pretty close to the ending the discussion on this topic. Could we, for now, swap the Rocky Mountain House, remove the Rocky Mountain House flag, put up the Ukrainian flag in whichever format best fits the protocol, and also hang the Canadian flag on a second one on the tallest pole out front the office? Does everybody feel that would be okay to move forward with for today? Do we need to make a resolution for that, or is that just an administration ask?
Your Worship, so I think council has two resolutions they want to do. One would be just to fly the Ukrainian flag on our primary set of flags, and then we'll just take care of the rest. And then there would be a motion for sending the flagpole and flagpole policy to service level review.
Okay, Councillor Phillips.
So just if we are going to be making a motion about flying the flag there, we should put a time frame on that, just so we're very clear when the deadline comes for that as well. Yes, I'm fine with the two motions.
So we'll do the easy one first. Let's make a motion. I'll make a motion that we send the flagpole to service level review. All in favor?
Kind of not complete.
We're going to send the flag protocol and the flag poles to service level review. That's one motion. We're going to do two motions
For costing and discussion.
for costing and discussion. Sorry. All in favor? And that's carried.
And I'll make the second motion. I'll make the motion that we take the Ukrainian flag from the current flagpole and move it on to the existing flagpole of 5 flags in whichever order it makes sense from a flag protocol point of view for a period of 1 month. and that the Canadian flag be put back onto the tall flagpole right away.
Are we all happy with the period of 1 month? Okay, that sounds fair. All in favor of the motion on the table? Thank you very much, and that's carried. So moving forward, correspondence for information. Is there anything anyone want to discuss about 9 point? Counselor Phillips?
Just item 9.3, the letter to Minister Tays for the cannabis taxes and potential revenue sharing. I'm glad to see that letter going to them, and I'm looking forward to seeing what their response is to that, especially when I've had a couple of conversations with different ministers on that one.
Perfect. Any other discussion on those items? Would you like to make a motion?
Sure, I'll make a motion that we accept item 9.1 through 9.7 for information.
And seeing no further discussion, all in favor? Thank you very much. That's carried. So 10.1 administrative reports. Mr. Kraus.
Thank you, Your Worship. So for CAO and legislative reports, just some highlights. So administration did meet with Sun Tribal Chiefs, First Nations, and minor hockey to discuss racism. As per council's request, I think the meeting went fairly well. And now the action items are up to both those parties. So, met with all departments in the last month. That's an annual thing that I do. We go through council's strategic plan to let all staff know where we're heading and so forth, and the budget and the major capital projects approved by council for the budget. Met with the Red Deer Catholic School Division in regards to the joint use agreement. So council has met with Wild Rose, so we also have to have one with the Red Deer Catholic. So we started initiating those meetings, and I think we have a board meeting set up sometime in the future with council. We met with the county administration to have preliminary talks on, the JDA, because that's in council's strategic plan, even though it's, we're looking at it in a year from now, just to bring it to the county attention. Plus, we initiated talks on the lagoon agreement, and administratively worked out a process to determine percentage cost allocation there. So we'll work on that, then bring it back to councils for presentation. I think that is the major highlights, Your Worship. So council has any questions on anything else in the report, be glad to answer. I did miss one. I really want to thank finance staff and Laura for our financial reporting to receive the award again, the Canadian National Award for Financial Reporting. So very proud of our staff to achieve that.
Councillor Auld.
Just a quick question, Mr. Kraus, the council chambers upgrades, are they this year? Your Worship, they are this year. We're waiting for the one main component due to supply chain. Do we have any updates on the expectation?
Thank you, Mr. Kraus. There are no further updates. We did have an administrative meeting with our installer, supplier, as well as our in-house maintenance staff. And so everything that can be done ahead of time, putting in a new outlet, that type of thing, is being done, so that as soon as that piece gets here, we can be rolling within a couple of days. But unfortunately, we do not have a timeline that we can give you at this time.
Councillor Phillips.
Just a comment to Mr. Kraus and his comment on the financial reporting award. I just wanted to say, great job. You know, Mr. Kraus, Betty, and your team. That's 2 years in a row that we've had this, and that shows the people, the residents of Rocky Mountain House, that the financial order of Rocky Mountain House is in really, really good hands, and we're in a very promising financial state. So thank you. And of course, Laura, thank you.
Counselor Fraser, did you have a comment? Sorry, sometimes you
No,
you
the
waved, but I wasn't
silence
sure if you, okay.
It was applause, but I realized that might have looked odd, so.
I thought you were trying to get my attention. So if
sorry.
we have no further questions or comments, we'll make a motion to accept the CAO's report for information. All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you very much. Moving forward, we'll have director's reports for recreation and community services. Good morning or good afternoon.
Good afternoon, your worship and council. Yeah. A couple of little highlights. Obviously, we've been busy in the last month, certainly getting our capital projects up and running. Requests for quotes and proposals are out. Some of the work at the arena complex has already been done, and they're working and moving forward with that. We've met with the Rocky Minor Football, the school division, and the contractor we met last week talking about the lighting project, and they're making plans to move forward with that project. Yeah, so that's a positive thing. Yeah, our office is busy with requests and scheduling for the sports fields, North Saskatchewan Park bookings, Loose Opit Center, getting lots of requests for that. I know this summer's busy with weddings that couldn't have happened in the past, so that's keeping my admin assistant very busy with that. You know, just looking at the guest services, the stats that Lisa has provided, you know, show just how busy the facility is. We've got a couple of upcoming important dates that she's highlighted there. Just to note, May 1st, we're doing the walk and roll challenge again, coming up for, this will be our second year participating in that, where we encourage people to give up their motorized forms of transportation, and when they're going for errands and those types of things, making that choice. And we did very well last year in our first year, hoping to do better this year, getting the word out there for that to start here on May 1st. Yeah, lots of other bookings coming up with the Compassionate Care Hospice Society run coming up in May, Chamber of Commerce Trade Show, the Benjamin Circus.
Did they set a date for the Chamber of Commerce show yet?
Yes, it's June 16th to 18th. No?
It's still under, they're still finalizing details.
Oh, okay. That was just the dates that my staff have written down in their program.
Sorry, I wasn't sure if they.
Oh, okay. That's, there's the most current update.
Thank you.
And then we're also, working with Alberta Volleyball, is looking at bringing in a camp in July, right after the wrestling camp. So we'll have 2 weeks of provincial sport organizations coming in and using our facilities for their camps this summer as well. So we'll be busy getting our capital projects completed in between having these other events going on. So
have we had the super series people walk through the facilities to make sure that
they haven't contacted me yet.
Okay.
So we're just waiting for them to set up that meeting to come and visit the site.
Okay, and then we're with the rodeo is have we addressed some of their concerns?
Yeah, I had actually had a meeting with the president of the Rodeo Association, and I know this since they haven't been in there for 2 years.
Yes.
We're making arrangements for them again to come in and fix up their equipment, make sure it's all in working order. So yeah, we've
perfect.
All those things.
So exciting to have events at the facilities again.
Yes.
And I see that the problems at the pool were a seized part, and that's fixed.
still working on that. Yeah, so it's every now and then we get, somebody got cold water or not, and the mixing valve's been fixed, and
perfect.
So
that's resolved. That was a question from last time.
Yeah.
Counselor Phillips, you had some questions?
Yes, just a quick question. I see that you said CNRL has confirmed an in-kind donation for the pump track construction. Do we know what that looks like or what they're thinking?
They've indicated to us that they're willing to, when we're ready for construction, we'll time that work so that, you know, they're not going to come in and do their things and then
We redo it.
we're waiting. So, but they've indicated that when that time comes, we'll coordinate the work for their decommissioning of the well site with the construction that we have. And I know I have a meeting actually tomorrow with one of the potential contractors for the pump track, just to work on the concept design and that with the pump track group. So
Yeah, it would be nice if, you know, when they're decommissioning, that they could help, you know, landscape
Yeah,
the
they'll
park
have
at the
their
same
equipment
time.
in
Yeah,
there and-
exactly.
So they've indicated they're not able to do a financial contribution, but they can do the in-kind contribution, and all that stuff can be accounted for when the pump track group applies for grants. They can use the in-kind donations as qualifying funds.
And with the football field, do we have to wait until you have the meeting with the schools before we can move forward with whatever's going on with the light poles there? Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, at this point, it's on school property. So that was one of the meetings that I had last week is, you know, who's going to own it? It's on school property, you know, and moving forward, they understand that this is their project. They're working with the football club and the contractor to make it happen.
Perfect. That was all the questions I had. I see no others. Thank you so very much.
You're welcome.
Have a great afternoon. So moving forward, we have engineering operations with Sean LaFrance again. Really good at first names and then I forget last names.
Oh, that's all right. Good day again, Your Honor and Council. Again, engineering and operations, we're ramping up for our construction season operations, I'll call them, spring, summer, shifting over, getting all of our equipment ready, taking advantage of the weather, filling as many potholes as we can, performing underground maintenance while temperatures are above freezing. We can, so getting to all the things that we can as fast as we can. So if there's any questions, I'm happy to do my best to answer them.
I didn't have any questions. Thank you very much. Seeing no other ones. Have a great afternoon. So moving forward, corporate services. Patty Quinlan again.
Thank you, your worship and council. Maybe just before I go into my report, just some comments, and thank you for all the comments on the award. Part of it is putting it all together, but just I enjoy doing it, and I think Laura does too. So it really is designed for our residents to make the document readable and kind of give them some more interesting facts aside from financial statements because they're so riveting. But just I did send an email to our staff to thank them for all their work, and just sorry, I like looking up statistics. In 2019, just it's done in Canada, but it's not done a lot. So to me, this just in 2019, in Alberta, there was 19 other municipalities that received the award. Typically, it quite often is cities. So all the big cities did. There's a few other towns that have done it. And I think I had to go count how many towns we have. So we have about 80, just over 300, 320 some odd. So 19 out of 320. BC does it quite a bit. They've got 39. Manitoba, Ontario's not really big. They're only 16. But in total, there's 80 municipalities in all of Canada that do it. And there's roughly about 32, I think 32 or 3,400 municipalities in Canada. So we're part of a very small group that does it, but I really feel it's done for the residents. So just so you have a little bit of background on that. April, most of the month has been spent working with the auditors. I'm gonna be reviewing draft statements this afternoon, so then we can get them finalized for next week. I think it's gone really well. It was a little more difficult with just one accountant, but the other main thing we're really working on is we sent the assessments out. This is our second year of doing them separately. So we sent them out and just been taking phone calls, and the assessors have had several open houses where they've actually come and they've spent the whole day. There's at least 2 of them here, which again, I think is a real increase in customer service, because before they would just have phone calls, but this way they can actually meet with an auditor or an assessor. And then trying to wrap up year end, starting to work on March quarterly statements, and sat in on the meeting for the video projector, but yeah, there's a piece outstanding. So I don't know, is there any questions?
Just a comment that you know, usually numbers is a pretty dry topic and you make it kind of fun and exciting. So that's good.
I try. Can tell in people's eyes, but anyways.
Thank you very much. I don't see any further questions. Have a great afternoon. So moving forward, we have planning and community development with Mr. Dean Schwader.
Good afternoon, Your Worship, Council. I'll hit some highlights in regards to my department. We continue with the Clean Energy Improvement Program. We're getting good uptake on that. We've signed off 2 of the agreements, and we have 8 more that are pre-qualified. In regards to planning and development, there's some numbers there for building permits and development permits. And we are working on updating some of our policies for compliance and encroachment. And we have updated our development permit and building permit to make it more user-friendly and more informative for the applicants. In regards to our QMP quality management plan, we did get approved on March 25th as far as our yearly review. And then our safety codes audit, they come in and do an audit on building inspections or building discipline, and we'll be scheduled for May for that. Under economic development and tourism, our EDO and the county EDO met with all the real estate brokerages in town just to discuss the housing market and what they see and what's going on. As you know, the housing is being sold quite good here within the community. And a lot of people from outside the area coming to Rocky Mountain House, which is nice to see. Our EDO did go to the Chamber of Commerce Business Mixer that was hosted by TC Energy last week. He continues to get inquiries regarding potential business is coming to our community. He is busy continuing to work on Canada Day planning, land inventory list, which will be presented to council next week. And then also our market on Main, which registration has started. People are inquiring for registration. So hopefully we're able to make it down to the 3rd block this year if our registrations are high enough. So
Can you tell me again which day that starts?
starts June 24th, 3rd. Sorry, I was going off the top of my head there. Yeah, 3rd Thursday of the month of June. And it'll run for 10 weeks. So under health and safety, our health and safety coordinator is working on our 2021 certificate of recognition audit, just addressing some of the concerns that the audit had. In regards to our telephone answering within our organization, we have added this call may be recorded for quality insurance. Just make sure that if the call does kind of go sideways on us, we can record it just for backup information. But that is when you phone the office, any office within the town organization, that recording pops up when you first make connection with the town. And protective services, we did have 132 files, which is a busy month for my protective services department. As you can see, we wrote 96 violation tickets, 47 traffic warnings for a total of $25,000. Our big issue currently still is unregistered motor vehicles. There's 43 violations issued in the month of March. distracted driving, and operating uninsured motor vehicles. I have attached a graph for the violations as well as the building permits. Any questions for my department?
What percentage of those fines are collected?
Well, I'm not sure Betty can help answer that question or not. No, it's one of those things where if a ticket's issued in 2021, sometimes we may not get paid until the end of 2022. It all depends with the court systems and stuff like that. So I don't know if I can really answer what the percentages of it or not, but I will bring it back as far as I'll ask our finance department as well as my senior peace officer, if we can calculate the number of percentage of tickets that are paid. The ones that go to court, those are, we have no control on that. As far as the judge may waive it, they may do jail time, I guess, on weekends to pay off that fine. But majority of the ones that are for speeding and distracted driving are usually paid 100%. My officers do spend some time in court when they get called to court, when the people want to contest the issue or the ticket.
Counselor Fraser has a question.
I am excited to hear Market on Main is underway. I was contacted by a business owner on Main Street about what the process is for top of Main, bottom of Main, spreading them out over the whole distance, because they're feeling rather lonely down there for the last few years. And I know it's been a little crazy with COVID, but is there a system where it rotates, or where we get a certain number and then we know how many spaces to spread them out? Or
Councillor Fraser, yeah, ideally we need over 50 vendors to break it down into the third block, but we are reaching out to some larger vendors that could, say, showcase vehicles or RVs on that third block, just to make it more attractive for the people to walk down to the third. But it's based on the number of registrations, because it comes down to logistics as well. As far as the third block being shut down, we have to shut down 50th and 50th as well. So we just have to make sure that we have enough numbers to make it down to the third block.
And so are the booths done by booth number, or are you just compacting them
It's
together?
first come, first serve as far as them lining up, and then we
Okay.
direct them to the top and the middle block. So usually we can do 22 at the top, and the remainder fits onto the second block. But ideally, if we get more than 50, then we have to push them down to the third block. But ideally, a perfect number would be probably around 75 to go down to the third block.
Counselor Fraser, did you have any more questions?
no, I was just not sure whether we did we started at the top one year or the bottom another year. I know it's moved around, so I just wanted to pass along the question.
And I know it's not as convenient when you can walk outside your storefront and put a booth on, but we always say they're welcome to move their booth up to the first, second block as well.
I will let them know.
Counselor Phillips has a question.
Just a comment, actually. It's great to see $4.4 million in building permits in the month of March. I know a lot of that is industrial commercial, but that's fantastic to see that.
Yay. See no further questions. Is that correct? Thank you very much. Have a great afternoon. I just had a question I forgot to ask about the sign on the Rocky Rec Center. Do we know the ETA when that would be installed?
May.
Perfect. And then there'll be the two, right?
Yes, and I'll be coordinating with yourself and the Reeve for a photo op. Once that is in place, it's a question of weather.
Yes. Hard to
So
do things in the snow today.
we will keep you informed.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that answer. Any other questions that we might have forgotten on any of those? Okay, so we'll make a motion. I'll make a motion that we accept the director's reports in 10.2 for information. All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you very much. So moving forward, 11.1 action list for April 19th, 2022. Mr. Kraus, did you have any comments or questions? Or did
No, your
anyone
worship,
else?
unless council has any questions.
Counselor Caprero,
If there's no questions, I will make a motion to accept the action list as presented or as information, sorry.
perfect. Thank you very much. All in favor? Thank you, and that's carried. So moving towards 11.2, community grant report update.
Thank you, worship. So quarterly administration will provide this report to council just to keep council informed on the grants that we've approved throughout the year.
Perfect. Did anyone want to have any questions or concerns over the grant process? And so all those grants are directly applied for through the town office? Or is there a form online?
No, your worship, there is a form online and then it's brought to council for approval.
Oh, okay, perfect. Thank you very much. Any other further questions? Okay, so I'd like to make a motion to accept the community grant report, April 19th, 2022, as presented for information. All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you very much. Do we have any administrative inquiries today? Do we have any notices of motion today? Okay, so I'd like to take a brief 10-minute recess, please, before we move into closed session.